I really felt like maybe the ice skaters were the only people left in this game that really had a chance for the faithful to win the game. But after this showing, I want someone to call Tanya Harding on Tara Lipinski because it's time to take another ice skater out. Well, unfortunately, I do have to cover another episode of The Traitors in this season that feels like it just won't end. Although, thankfully, next week is finally that week. But I figured I would talk about episode 10 and once again roast these pieces of shit that I have to watch. Like, I genuinely only feel this way about cast on Big Brother usually, where I honestly hate a lot of the cast members or just strongly dislike them. And that's how I feel about this cast left. I strongly dislike this cast left. Unlike last week, I guess, at least it wasn't the most boring episode of all time. Like last week, at least this episode was a little better, but it might be one of the most frustrating performances you will ever see on a Traitors season from what definitely has to be the worst, dumbest, most pathetic, faithful cast ever. I mean, it's the worst cast ever, period. But the faithful cast especially. Ugh. I don't even know where to begin with these people. The fact that Kristen was murdered by Eric and Rob after clearly putting a target on Eric's back should be one of the main things that makes a person suspicious. And yeah, sometimes traitors use that to take the heat off of themselves. But this late in the game, I don't know if these faithful should really be thinking like that. My biggest problem here is that this idiot fucking Mark with his long ass hair, going on social media for weeks now. He's gone on social media for weeks talking about how he and Kristen were the best of friends on this show, and he doesn't understand why they're not getting a bigger edit as a duo in the game. And if that was the case, with Mark hyping himself up, hyping his duo up with Kristen for weeks on social media, and this is his performance after Kristen is offed. He had one job, and that job was to hunt down Eric in this episode, and he shied off of it. I think the edit was probably protecting Mark and Kristen, because Kristen was one of the biggest dummies last week. Mark looking like one of the biggest dummies this week, although he was upstaged. But the fact that they were under-edited is probably even better for them, because I just know they had to have some of the dumbest takes this season for the way they've played these past two episodes. So I don't understand all of Mark's complaining on social media why he and Kristen didn't get a bigger edit. If this is how Kristen goes out and this is how Mark struggles to play, the big problem with the faithful left, and I think it is a problem with there not being a lot of gamers this season in general, or a lot of gamers left, is that they're afraid to play the game. They really are afraid to play the damn game. We saw that in this episode. In fact, this episode made me feel really good about my takes this season, because I feel like this episode just backed up all the evidence I've been talking about for weeks now. One thing I mentioned is how Rob hates women and why he's never had a healthy relationship in his life. And every show I've ever seen him on, he can only bro down. And we see that with his protection for Eric, which is something he never did for Lisa. In fact, he led a charge against Lisa instead. But here he is doing his best to keep Eric in this game when there was finally some heat on Eric. I also feel as though Rob is just a terrible actor. I don't know how anyone falls for anything he says. Like, how can you not watch Rob when he's trying to act like he's sad about something, or how he's down about something, or how he wants to give up about something, and believe it? It's not believable at all. He's such a bad actor, he wouldn't even be able to play Tomas on Beyond the Gates, and only the people that watch both Beyond the Gates and this show in my coverage will get that joke. But it's the truth. I think Rob would be a worse Tomas than the actor that already plays Tomas on Beyond the Gates. Then let's get to Tara, I guess. She was the biggest loser in this episode. It finally seemed like she had an epiphany, and that Rob is a traitor and that Natalie is not a traitor. And someone was finally thinking about why would Candace be going after Rob? What were these votes against Rob? Someone was finally thinking about it, and I feel like it was in the back of Natalie's mind too. But Tara was the one that wanted to play the game, I guess, but then chickened out at the end. I really did not understand Tara in this episode whatsoever. Like, this was a case where you needed to stand on business. In a game like this, if you're going to gather up votes, if you're going to gather up a strategy, I think chickening out at the end is probably the worst thing you can do. The round table was, I think, the epitome of why this season sucks. Because we saw how Mark was afraid to play the game at the round table. But of course, more importantly, we saw how Tara was afraid to play the game at the round table. All Tara, Johnny, and Natalie needed to do, if they were afraid of the stupid double vote that Rob has, then all they had to do was convince Mark. And I get it's hard to do because Mark is a big ass idiot, but all they had to do was convince Mark to vote out Rob. But they didn't even want to attempt to get that extra number. And so Tara letting Natalie basically talk herself out of the game here when it was Tara's idea in the first place to go after Rob. It was hard to watch for several different reasons, because of the stupidity of it all, but also because of the weakness of it all. Like, I really felt like maybe the ice skaters were the only people left in this game that really had a chance for the faithful to win the game. But after this showing, I want someone to call Tanya Harding on Tara Lipinski, because it's time to take another ice skater out. Two more things about this roundtable that just proved my points of the past is that Rob is truly mediocre at this game. When Natalie called Rob out on his shift towards her, on his shift in the way he's been acting all day like he's defeated, in his shift, well, basically just calling Rob out on the Candace votes, and Rob had no defense whatsoever. In fact, Rob just got frustrated, stumbled over his words, and is lucky that Maura's annoying voiced ass is just such a big defender of Rob, because Rob could not defend himself at the round table. It just proved to me how mediocre Rob is. Like I've been saying all season, it was an awful performance at the round table from Rob. But luckily for Rob, he does have Maura, who is extremely male-centered and is extremely like the Peter Griffin meme with the colors of the skin, which is why I said weeks ago that Natalie was not going to work out with this cast. They were going to easily be able to turn on her because she didn't match the skin tone that this season needs you to match if they're going to believe you. In fact, I would go so far as to say that Tara's vote for Natalie was just very, very Karen-like. I don't think Tara liked being called out on her bullshit, because it was bullshit what Tara did in this episode. And then Tara to still vote for Natalie, even though she's the one that came up with the plan, and she's the one that told Natalie she believed that she wasn't a traitor. But then to vote for Natalie and say, I voted for you even though I don't think you are a traitor, it's the stupidest shit I've ever seen. Because why do they cast these people? This is the example of why the casting on the show has gotten to be shit. Just casting these random sports people, these random nobodies like Eric, it doesn't make for a good cast, because you get late in the season, you have someone like Tara who refuses to play the game. This late in the game, voting out someone you don't think is a traitor makes zero sense whatsoever and is a waste of our time. So at this point, I mean, I don't know how Rob or Eric don't win the game. I mean, it's been that case the entire season. There was the editing this season is another big problem. Just a really shit season altogether. But I mean, all Rob or Eric have to do is kill off Johnny and Mark, and I don't see how they lose the game. Unless Maura has some sort of epiphany, it's going to be an epiphany I don't want to listen to her screechy ass voice say. But if she didn't have an epiphany in this episode when she was talking about how she sucks at the game, which is a fact, but how she doesn't understand how she sucks so much at the game and is still left in the game, if she doesn't think, oh, maybe it's my BFF Rob in this game that's keeping me safe, if she can't come to that conclusion, which some people speculate she might, and she's playing the whole traitor angel strategy, we'll see. There's been no real evidence that she's coming to that conclusion, but we'll see, I suppose. At this point, I think that's the only chance of a faithful win. I don't even want the faithful to win, though, so I don't care who wins. I'm just gonna watch the finale and then watch the reunion, which will probably also suck because they'll edit all the good shit out of it, like Lisa calling out Colton. So, yeah, this season has been one big shit sandwich.